What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? All right. Today we're going to look at a few features of, what makes the LEP 6000, the LEP 8 and 10 more capable than the Chinese printers. And it's going to shock you in a lot of ways that this printer has the capability of doing color plus a white single layer overpasses the print heads moving. It's laying down ink at 2880 by 2880 resolution. Who just came on? What's up, Jimmy? Whereas the Chinese printers are limited to 720 pixels by maybe, if you're lucky, 1080. And that's on the 3200 and the 4720 print head series. We're going to take a look at this in a few rips, and I'm having trouble launching a few rips right now. But what we want to look at is that from a point of a photographer, you can print photographic prints on these printers with DTF laying down a very thin layer of ink. Because when you buy a transfer, in many cases, they are very, they're heavy, but they're very soft, okay? So without a doubt, we can't argue that. But they lay down a lot of ink to get that 720 by 1080, if ever. Most of the units are 720 by 720. So we'll come over here and look because, as you know, we are a dealer for CADlink and quite a few other rips, and so we can go into the rips and show you the resolution of each printer, and that's going to determine one thing. If you're printing faces and you're printing at the same amount of time on average, but if you're printing faces or something like that, or mountain shots or photographs, then you want a higher resolution than 720 to make the print feel very thin and yet at the same time soft. So let's turn the camera around. Any questions, just let me know. So here we can see the DTF Superstore printer. All right, and then you come down over here to the maximum resolution, and we're going to see that this printer's maximum resolution is 720, and that's due to the limitation of the 3200 and the 4720 print head. It's 4 channels, 400 nozzles. Now let's take a look at a few other printers that are on here, because I can just keep adding printers here. Let's take a look at like the Muto, and I just had this up. The Muto's up right here now. And we're going to go to screen print mode, and the maximum that can go to is 1080 by 1080, which is very well, and if you look at, say, for instance, our printers, you see that they go into the 1400s, and they actually go into the 2880 by 2880, and that varies upon the rip you're using. Like if you go into your Acra Rip 10 series, and you choose even the small little desktops, that's what I was going to do. The Epson P800 prints at a higher resolution right here. P800 roll. So you can kind of, see the P800 roll right there, P800 DTF roll. And when we go down to the print properties, you're at 1400 by 720, and that can even go higher. So what they're trying to show you is that the first pass right here is going to be greater than the Asian printers, which are at 720. And I've talked to people that have had them, and they say that the 1080 is not quite 1080. It's like this weird 7 or 1080 is what it says on the screen, but it's at 720. So it's very interesting, that these printers give you more capability to produce those 20 or so brilliant transfers per hour, 25 depending. This printer can lower down to the 720s as well. And when you lower a print down to the 720s, man, the thing is really fast, just moving along, making it worth it. And also that there's not a lot of maintenance that you have to do on this printer, and you don't have to align the print heads and go through all that nonsense. It makes it very tough. But, you know, if you're in a production where you need, you know, 5,000, 6,000, 20,000 transfers a day, right, there just aren't enough of these printers to meet the needs of, you know, 50, 100 businesses nationwide. So then you're limited to those Chinese printers just to print, you know, things like this right here, spot graphics or whatever, you know. So that's the benefit of these printers, in my opinion, is that some of the graphics are so intense that they'll just blow your mind, and they don't mute out by the loss of resolution. And you know, I argue with people all the time that, well, the Chinese printers, for instance, are rarely ever printing things like photograph prints. Like, I've become highly addicted with DTF to printing, you know, photographic prints with DTF on canvas, man, dark color canvas and stuff. It's just kind of mind-blowing, you know, making me want to think, wow, you know, a large format heat press or something and a 44-inch printer, man, and you would just have a lot of fun with it. So anyways, those are some of the things that within the RIP you're limited to printing. And somebody, you know, they're like telling me, hey, Ernest, I don't know where you're getting your information from, you know, but my printer will print beyond 720. And I tell them, no, it won't. Your printer can't print beyond 720 because the print heads themselves are limited to 720. That's how many dots, right? Dots per inch. And to get those 720, you have to lay down a bunch of ink. And then when these printers come along and they're 1400 or 2880, man, they're laying down such thin dots, and that's what makes the transfers from this machine very, very, very soft and thin. You know, I've had people ask me, man, is this sublimated into the image? And of course it also depends, or to the shirt, it also depends on the powder used. So those are a couple things to look at, you know, when buying a printer. Obviously, if you have to print, you know, 5,000 prints a day, this is not going to be the printer that'll do it. It is the fastest printer of all the Epson series, however, which, you know, gives you the ability to just print and print and print and print non-stop. And so any of the smaller desktop units out there can print at a higher resolution and softer transfers than any of the Asian printers. And that's why a lot of times when you buy transfers from companies that have, you know, companies that have the Asian printers, that the transfers arrive and they're all milky. There's residue of oil built up or something in the transfers, and I've ordered transfers from almost everybody that sells transfers with these big Asian units. And of course I sell printers to people that buy transfers from them too, and that's one of the issues that they have as well. So it's because they're laying down so much ink onto a piece of polyurethane film that, you know, it's common sense that the transfers begin to bleed or build up moisture. But nonetheless, these printers you really don't have to work on. There are things that you have to do that are known, right? You've got to do things like adjust your film, adjust your platen height, you know, clean the bottom of your print head, work on your printer, but not at the rate that, you know, you have to do it on the Chinese printers. So these also don't require 220 or 240 volts. You know, you can put them right in your business, and the parts are readily available. Everything for these printers is in hand. So I'm going to get back to work, and hopefully that answers a question on resolution. And then, you know, the Chinese printers versus ours. Yes, the Chinese printers are faster, right? But if you look online, you'll notice that a lot of companies with those Chinese printers are looking for full-time technicians to run their printer, right? And they're hoping that they can find a technician that's smart enough that can work with the Chinese technology and the motherboards. And that's going to cost them $50,000 a year, because what technician would run a Chinese printer for under 50 grand a year? None that I know of. you know, and then you have to pay insurance on top of that, and you know, that's a big expense for a business where somebody can get this printer and with very little work they can get it going. You know, we'll have to come set them up, we'll have to train them, but can you keep that printer running? Can you have all the tools necessary? You sure could. So look, I'm going to let you go. I got to get some work done. See ya.